Now tell me a little bit about what we're doing out here today.
So we are going to be building a straw bale garden, and we're going to be using these straw bales and plus the amendment right here, and then also some of that wire that's right behind you as well, and we'll be showing how all of that goes together too. But we're putting this in the front yard of this little plot between my neighbor and I, and we've gotten the okay for that too, so we're good to proceed. But it's going to be a community garden where we'll be planting some vegetables, and where we can just share the extras with some of our neighbors in the neighborhood.
Now you mentioned this sunny spot.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you're going to do with this today.
All right, so we're going to be building a straw bale garden, and we're going to be using 4 of these straw bales just in a square type of shape. We're going to be putting on the bottom, we'll have a protection, which is our galvanized wire mesh, our hardware mesh just behind you, and that's to protect from pests that we have in the neighborhood. So that's specifically gophers. We get a lot of those in this neighborhood, and we've seen them in real time munching on weeds, our plants, just sucking those right down. So plants tend to disappear with gophers, so we'll be putting a protective layer of wire mesh on the bottom, and then we'll be filling it in with some of this soil and amendment. And then we'll be using some of the seeds from the San Diego Seed Company and Armstrong Garden Center. So we'll be doing that last and planting all of that in.
I understand that gophers are pretty territorial, so it's not something where you can just kill them and be done with them. Wire is going to be your best bet, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you have a straw bale garden, you don't necessarily have to do anything but the bottom, I'm assuming, because that's where the gophers come through, if that's what you're aiming against. Is that correct?
Correct, and that's my experience here. A couple years ago, we did one of these actually right against my garage area in this same space. It was a bit bigger, but we did coat it all, layer it with the wire mesh. I did not have anything going up the sides, only probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches up the side. But otherwise, no gophers got in there. I didn't have any issues with the rabbits that we have around here either, quite frankly. So it was a pretty good barrier for keeping out pests and rodents, both from the bottom and from the sides, for me personally.
Okay.
And that was in this same little space.
Now the other nice thing about a straw bale garden, at least for me, is that depending on which way you put it, you're going to have between 2 and 3 feet of vertical space. So you're actually lifting the garden quite a bit, and the amount of bending that you have to do as a gardener is reduced immediately.
That's a really great point. It helps tremendously. And you know, if you're making your garden bales a bit longer, sometimes there's an issue with getting into the space and reaching over, but it's easy just to climb over this. I mean, it comes up just above my knees, and I'm 5 foot tall, just a little bit over. So it's kind of easy to sit on it and kind of maneuver yourself over it as well. But when you're just trying to get just into the space, it helps a lot with your back quite a bit, and the bending over and just being so low to the ground. So having to do those constant squats type of thing up and down. So it's good for the back as well. Yeah.
Now the volume of dirt that you have definitely impacts the amount of water retention and the drying and heat impact on your soil, correct? Because it's basically like an insulated wall.
Absolutely. Yep.
So if you have more of a volume of dirt, it's going to be less subject to the vagaries of drying, right? So you might have to water quite a bit less if you have more dirt. So now we're going to put this in a minute. We're going to start to build this straw bale garden. But I will say that I know this much. There is a way that you build your bales, one way or the other, because this is a straw. It's like a straw. It's hollow on one end. So it's my understanding, if you put the straw end up, it actually holds more water than not, correct?
Yes. And the other part, so traditional straw bale gardening, you're planting directly into the straw bale. And so that's something I'd like to experiment with on this one. So it's kind of a 2-in-1 straw bale garden. We'll be using the straws both for structure, and then we'll also be trying some of that straw bale traditional gardening where we're planting directly into the straw bale. And for that, like you're saying, the straw side, so the hollow side, is going to be pointing up, and then we'll kind of be conditioning the straw bales as well with some more nutrients to make it a bit more so items can grow in it.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, we'll talk about that after, because I do want to talk about the benefits of what happens to the straw bales after you're done with the garden next year. So
sounds good.
Off we go.
All right. All right, so we're going to be moving a couple of the straw bales into place, just 4 of them total. And they're going to go into this flattened area right here. It's a little bit clear of everything and nice and flat, some good soil. So we'll be moving 4 of these, and just be careful. They're about anywhere from 80 pounds to about 100 pounds or so, depending on if they're wet, and we did just get rain, but they do roll kind of nicely. So we'll just be rolling 4 of these into place now. Perfect. All right, that's plenty wide enough, so we'll be able to get all sides. There we go. And alrighty, so now that we have our wire cut to size, and this is a 1/2 inch square galvanized hardware wire, now that we have all this cut, we're going to be just placing it at the bottom of the straw bales. And I flipped it over because the bend in it is going to help it stay down a little bit more like this. There we go.
Here's a spot where I really feel badly about social distancing.
I know. An extra pair of hands would be fun.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to push this down. All right, like that. And come around to the other side to make sure it's evenly going down. All right. Okay, so now we're just going to smooth out the ends so that it's all pressed to the outside of the straw bales. And I have a lot of these larger rocks available, so if you wanted, you could put down some of the rocks to kind of keep them in place as well. But I'm going to use this to kind of smooth aside my, my mesh wire here.
Yeah, and you're not really attaching that with anything. You're just kind of mushing it up against the side, correct?
Absolutely. So it just kind of makes a nice square barrier among all of the straw bales here.
And the bottom is going up, what, about 6 to 10 inches around the bottom, maybe?
In certain parts, we've got anywhere from like, I'd say about 4 to 10 inches.
Okay.
Right around 4 or 5 is plenty good enough. That should keep everything out.
From that cute little bunny that's running around the front yard?
Hopefully it keeps him out too. It has in the past.
I was reading about the depth of roots in vegetables and what's required. They have shallow, medium, and deep-rooted vegetables. Now, this straw bale garden is good for a couple of things. One, you're going to get a couple feet of root depth out of it, but also that hardware cloth that you have will allow roots to go through as they would like. So you could effectively gain another, well, foot or 2 out of your root depth if you needed to, past this depth of the straw bale garden, correct?
Oh, absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah, so this will protect against everything down below. they can go as deep as they want and not be at any harm to getting eaten. All right, so now we have our straw bale garden all together. All the soil's in there. It looks really good. We're actually going to come back in another week or so, and we're going to plant directly into these straw bales on the side. We're going to plant some strawberries over on that side, but we need to give them some time to condition, and we'll be going over that process and the planting in another week or so. So check back with us in a bit. But right now we're going to be planting some seeds directly into the soil in these straw bale gardens, and we really want to thank the San Diego Seed Company, who is a local seed grower here in our Southern California area, and they've actually donated quite a few seeds to us to use for all of these community gardens. So a big thank you to them, and we're going to be planting a couple of their seeds in these gardens. So in this area, we're going to be planting some of these peppers that they donated to us, and we've got some heirloom peppers, a Hungarian yellow hot wax, and then also this heirloom pepper padron, so a nice green pepper here. And all of these are some warm season seeds as well, so they'll do really well in this nice sunny spot. And then also the San Diego Seed Company has seeds that are adapted to our growing conditions here in Southern California in the San Diego area. So that's what makes them a really good choice for seeds. So hopefully we'll have very good luck with all of our planting here this season. So these we're just going to be sowing about a 1/4 inch deep and every 1 to 2 inches. So we'll follow the guidelines on the seed packets here. Just making a little row here closest to the edge of our one straw bale. And just put the little seeds in there, about a 1/4 inch down or so. Okay, so we've got our seeds in there, and then we'll just cover them up. And I like to just get the larger pieces out of the way too, so we give enough of a chance to the little seeds here so they can start up. All right, so there's our first row. And then we're also going to be planting these heirloom pepper padron, so this green pepper, again from the San Diego Seed Company. And get a couple of those seeds. And then same thing, have a little row back here, and we'll just plant those directly in. And I have a problem of not remembering what I planted. And where I planted it. So we're just going to make a couple of these little seed markers, permanent marker, because I've learned otherwise it comes off of the tag and then you don't know what you planted. So we have a pepper, and this is the padron, and we just stick that right in there, and that's showing that I planted back this way. And then for our other one, we also have the pepper, and it's the Hungarian yellow hot wax. And that's just going to go right in the front here to show our other row. Alrighty. Also, our local garden center, which is Armstrong Garden Center, just right down the hill, has also donated some seeds very graciously. And we have a bean bush that we're going to be putting into the straw bale gardens, and also later some more peppers, so red and green peppers. So right now we'll just be putting in the bean bush. And these are going to be about 1 inch deep every 1 to 2 inches. There's our nice bean seeds right there. And again, we'll just make a nice row along the side here. And place our beans all along this row. Cover them up with a little bit of soil here. And once again, just make our little tag. And again, just place that in there so we know, because this is a community garden, so everyone knows what we're planting and they can easily get to everything that they like to eat and that they want to try. So I'm going to continue planting a couple of the other seeds we have from both the San Diego Seed Company and also our Armstrong Garden Center. But just wanted to thank you both, Alara and Rick from Backyard Green Films, for helping me with this project and helping our community with veggies and fruit.
Nicole, we think this is great and we love the extra harvest share concept, and we will stay tuned for more straw bale experiment adventures with you in the upcoming weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.